By entering in internet search services the name of the notorious former head of the JSC, Resorts of the North Caucasus, CSC, and former vice president of the Olympic Committee, Akhmed Bilalov, you will not find any actual data about his current ubiety. Akhmed Bilalov, the Russian corruptor, is one of the members of the Mafia from Dagestan, which also includes Igor Yusupov and the brothers Magomedov. This criminal group has quickly gained main segments of the Russian market on the basis of a powerful extremist movement known as Dagestan Jamaat. Akhmed Bilalov resigned as chairman of the CSC Board of Directors and vice president of the Russian Olympic Committee in February 2015, after the criticism of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Due to his proximity to Medvedev, Yusupov and Bilalov carried out unlawful seizures of property in Russia, Germany, Norway, Ukraine, and legalized their criminal capitals in Switzerland and Cyprus. Perhaps the ex-head of the CSC will still continue to thrive in the homeland, if his greed allowed him to share his money with the hand that feeds him. Immediately after the scandals associated with the investments, the Interior Ministry and the UK, Akhmed Bilalov flew to Germany where he was examined and treated at a clinic. In late April, he said that high mercury content was found in his body. According to him, he was poisoned in the autumn of 2012 when a high content of the deadly substance was allegedly found in his main office in Moscow. Even then, the allegation about poisoning was considered by experts as a step towards a political exile. Therefore, his moving to London, where fugitive businessmen and officials hide from Russian investigators, is hardly surprising. Bilalov himself explains that he moved to England for medical reasons. And from that moment, the footprints, movements, and location of these businessmen and politicians are lost. In fact, Akhmed Bilalov currently resides in Miami, Florida, perfectly wasting the stolen money of Russian taxpayers on the sunny coast of the United States. Exporting from Russia more than 15 billion rubles, he has bought property in Baden-Baden where he spends time hiding from the police. His banker, Michael Weintraub, and his mistress, Tatyana Shapiro, help Bilalov to legalize stolen capital in the United States of America. So, what is the number one corrupt Russian trading now? Jeopardizing the holding of the Olympic Games in Russia. The Dagestan businessman is trying this time to commit such a fraud in the United States. Of course, trying to stay in shadow, the Russian crook opened an investment fund in his wife's name, and then registered it in his assistant's name, Albert Arakelian, to avoid the direct legal relationship with the criminal activities of the fund. After all, as it turned out, Bilalov is unable to earn money honestly, and he has to return to his traditional way of earning, corruption. Through this fund and its remaining connections, Ahmed Gajievich is now trying to get onto the U.S. Olympic Committee. It is not surprising because Bilalov has already had such a successful experience in a similar situation, but in Russia. And penetrating into the United States Olympic Committee, Russian corruption will stick to the beaten path. The scandalous mafioso builds hotels on the coast and invests money in non-profit projects, since he does not care where to invest his heavily looted capital. The country whose policy it is to reinforce clean and transparent business, with emphasis on the protections of consumer rights, was not able to change his methods of doing business. The corrupt Russian spends a lot of his money on expensive houses and the latest models of cars, bought with the stolen money of Russian taxpayers. But one day this money will come to an end. Having lost the opportunity to fill his pockets with public money, Bilalov keeps cheating people, stealing even ridiculous sums of money, $20,000, which he spends in one weekend. Some of his criminal fraud we were able to document. So we, the Russian community in the United States, who left our homeland because of the huge number of corrupt officials, such as Akhmed Bilalov, are wondering why the United States authorities are letting such unscrupulous businessmen live in its territories. People who have never done fair business, engaging only in fraud. Our reporters have already sent an official letter to the U.S. federal agencies with the documents proving the fraud of Mr. Bilalov. Also, we sent a petition with the necessary signatures to senators to ask them why the Russian criminal lives quietly in Florida and remains unpunished. So we have only one question. Where have the U.S. authorities been investigating, and why have they lost sight of the activities of a Russian swindler who managed to become notorious by robbing taxpayers and stealing billions of Russian rubles? And personally, we want to remind Mr. Bilalov not to forget his homeland, the village of Aboda in Dagestan, where his robbed former neighbors are feeling the lack of their stolen money.